Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Wieland, the host of the WB Download, and I want to invite you and welcome you to our podcast. My brother and I own and operate Wieland Builders. It's a custom home building company here in Southwest Ohio. The WB Download mostly focuses on interviewing folks associated with custom building. We stray now and then to interview people who I think are interesting and to break up the monotony of the same old podcast. I also like to highlight things that are going on in my everyday life along with our businesses. I started this podcast to help people understand the custom builder world, but to also give people a chance to hear what others have to say and highlight their expertise and experiences in life. We drop on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month with a new topic and or guest each time. I hope you join us here on the WB Download and enjoy listening and hearing stories of people in and out of the custom builder world. Welcome to the WB Download. All right. Well, hello again, everybody. I'm Jeff Wieland, host of the WB Download. As we said in the intro, welcome to the show. This is the first episode of March, and it's already March of 2025. Today is March the 11th, 2025. And we've had some weather, and it's probably people think that that it's been the worst winter ever and blah, 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 but it's been the worst winter we've had in a long time. It's been more snow on the ground for a longer period of time than what we've had. I say this probably every single time we've gotten on here, but I noticed that people are using it as an excuse a lot more because that's why things aren't getting done and blah, blah, blah. And then I look back and think, well, it was warm at Christmas time. I think you're just you're lost in whatever's going on. So anyway, let's move forward, man. We're in March. The time change is about to happen here, and or it already happened, and the weather's getting better. Days are getting longer, and there is sun on the horizon. Man, let's get moving towards summer. So we've got a lot of stuff going on here at Wieland Builders. We had a really, really nice article that was put into the Business Courier. It was a great interview, and was really grateful for those guys to do it, and kind of fun to highlight Wieland Builders and what we do around here and where we came from. So if you get a chance to catch that, I would check in on that. We just had our trade partner breakfast, our annual breakfast. This was the 8th year that we've done this, and it's an opportunity for us to get all of our trade partners, suppliers, employees, anybody that works with us over to a breakfast that's held at Butler Tech right here in Butler County. And we just want to say thank you to these guys, and because we work so hard together all year long. And I always say that there's so many times that when you're on the job that you're working, you've got a task to do, you're moving forward, your head down, and we stop. We don't stop often enough to just say thank you and bring people in and let them know what our goals are for the year. Let them know that they're an important, vital part of our team and how grateful we are for them. But we are also grateful for Butler Tech, because the culinary kids make us breakfast, and it is unbelievable over Cafe Lee. And they just do an incredible job. Butler Tech went from, when I was in high school, D. Russell Lee Vocational School, to basically an area-wide university that's in all Southwest Ohio for technical education coming out of high school, and they are doing amazing things, absolutely amazing things. And I'm so proud to be affiliated with them, and I'm proud to have Amy Webb over there, who Amy is our mainstay and the person that helps us set all this stuff up. But everybody that we talk to over there, it's just awesome people. So Butler Tech is really doing great things. My family and I had a chance to step out of here. It was 9 degrees when we left. We were looking for a place just to get out of town for a little bit, go somewhere warm. And so we went out to Goodyear. We stayed in Scottsdale, and we went out to Goodyear and visited the Reds out there. Got to have a lengthy conversation with Mr. Castellini about the Reds and about our family and about our float and how things are going. And it was really, really cool to be out there. And it was so nice because it was warm. Scottsdale is a ritzy town. But one of the coolest things that, of course, the kids could see out there is next to Whataburger and In-N-Out Burger is that Google has their cars that do not have a driver. So it's basically, I don't know how it's ran, but it's really neat. It goes and picks people up, takes you to the next place, and does not have a driver in the car. The Jetsons are here, man. It's we've moved on to the next era. Anyway, so that was really nice. The Reds looked good this year, and we had a great time. Thank you to Goodyear Ballpark. We were sitting in our seats, and they randomly came down and upgraded our seats to take us over to the shade, which is what we needed at the time, believe it or not. And we got to sit right behind home plate there, and it was so random, and I just couldn't believe that stuff never happens to us, and so we're grateful to them for doing that. So on the farm, we've got 6 babies on the ground for the spring calving. And this last cow that calved, her name is Gladys, had twins, and it's a boy and a girl. They're both super healthy, and she's taken them both, which is something that's odd for a cow to do, and they're doing really good. It was a surprise to her, and it was a surprise to us. We knew she had a baby. She's standing in the back with the baby. Thankfully, me and Cody go out and put out hay that night, and we're sitting there, and I look around, and there's another calf there, and she's not there. And I knew right then, I was like, man, it's twins. Called Cody over. We went back and got her, moved them into the barn and set them up. And they both are super healthy and doing really good. So I'm excited about that. We are running out of hay. We couldn't, we have hay fields. My goal on the farm is to be self-sustaining. So we're raising all of our own feed stuff on the farm eventually. And so anything that comes out of the ground goes into the cows and just kind of rotates, like how I did it at school through the Ohio State University. It's how the prisons used to do it in Ohio before they got politically involved somehow or another. And so that's what we want to do here. However, we're not there yet, and we're running out of hay. We haven't run out of hay yet. So we have to scrounge and try and find some. We got an old boy from Kentucky that's brought us some hay up to us to get us through the rest of the year. It's tough, man. It's tough, because we went through a drought, and then we went through an extremely harsh and long winter, and things just, as we go, we learn. Anyway, so me and Cody are getting ready to head up to Columbus for the annual Ohio Beef Expo. Something that when I was younger and when I was in college, we spent a lot of time every year after year up there showing cattle and just getting to be around the beef industry. It's a trade show. It's pretty neat, but we're taking his steer up there, showing it for the first time somewhere besides the county fair. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to hopefully catching up with a lot of people that I've known in the industry, and my best friend growing up, Josh Luther. Him and his son are going to be going with us, and of course we're going to see other people from the county up there as well. So I'm looking forward to that time with Cody, and that time to watch him show and get involved in this. Another great, awesome, wonderful thing that's happened over this past weekend is my daughter Raina turned 11. And she is so excited leading up to her birthday. She's been planning. She's a diva at heart, and she is just an amazing person, and just has all these details written down and planned for her birthday that she did with her friends. And it was a spa day, essentially, is what she's laid out. Makeup is the big thing for girls these days, and that's what they focused on. And she had a sleepover all the way down to the donuts that they had in the morning with the hot chocolate bar is something she's planned out. She's there. But 11 years old, man, I just can't believe it. I look at these kids every single day. I look around at my life, and I look at our farm, and I'm just like, I can't believe that I get to live this life. It's amazing. The other thing that we are working on, of course, is the float for the annual Cincinnati Reds opening day. I love the whole idea. I love the legacy that we've created. I love that we are one of the few people who actually build a float for the parade. The toughest part of this whole thing is to come up with the idea and the design, and coming up with something that's really cool and just a theme and just putting all this stuff together. And people want to help, and it's like, man, you really can't help because we really don't know what we're going to do. We're just going to start building it. We really just need creative ideas, and that's the toughest part of coming up with this thing. But it's pretty cool. A lot of pride, like we do here at Wieland Builders, showing things off when we do in Homerama, when we do it in a parade, when we do anything that we do with our cool office. It's a sense of pride being able to see that big rig coming down the road that we built. In front of millions of people, and there's usually like 130,000 people there at the parade. It's just something cool. Plus, it's something that we do with a company to be able to get everybody together. Their families all come down. Everybody rides on the float. It's not a homecoming parade. It's a big deal. And people who had not been involved in a parade, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing this kindergarten thing, making a parade float. And then they come down there that day and they realize that it's a lot bigger than what they ever could imagine. So it's really cool. Every year I have to talk myself into doing it because not everybody else is on board with it. Like anything else we do, it's as long as Jeff takes care of it, it'll get done. It's the way it's been my whole life. Anyway, we want to continue to do this. I think it's a great tradition. It's a great legacy for our family and for our company. But look for us on opening day for the Cincinnati Reds. And our theme is Go Bananas, and we are going, I usually don't let that out of the bag yet, but we are celebrating the Savannah Bananas coming to Southwest Ohio. And so it's going to be pretty cool to see that thing come together. We just completed a house up in Oxford, and for some really, really cool people. And I talked about this a while ago, that our good friend Tim Brennan is the person who brokered this deal for us and brought these people to us and worked with us all along the way. This house turned out really, really cool. There's pictures and there's video on our website. We just got done with the Matterport, and Leanne has put it up there on the website. It's a house that those people had a relationship with a designer, and the designer worked with it after the architect. They brought the plans to us. They used an architect that I'm not in love with, but they had a designer that I've known for many years, and him and his son just did an unbelievable job from everything from the light fixtures to the bed sheets. It's really, really a cool house, and kind of cool to see that thing come together. But I'm glad to get it done and see those people enjoying it. I know we said that today would be my cousin Johnny Lohr from Gordian Construction would be on here, but Johnny got pulled away for several days here because they're a commercial builder, and they got involved with a bid that they had to get to, and so he had to get on down the road and didn't have time to come in and do this. So we're going to schedule another time to record his episode, and hopefully we'll get him back on the show because I've got a ton of questions. I went over it with him. We're going to dive deep into him and his family, and then how he arrived at being a builder. So we're pretty excited about Johnny coming back and doing that. So anyway, soon he will be on the show. Johnny, we love you. Get your butt in here. Our next guest, and I hate to even jinx it like this, because when we say who our next guest is going to be, it typically doesn't end up that way. But our next guest will be Kelly Schnelly from Florida Tile. Florida Tile has been doing business with our family for as long as I can remember. When I got here 30 years ago almost, it was 28 years ago, I guess, full time. I've been here since I was a little kid, and everything I've ever known was Florida Tile. So they've been here with us for a long time. Kelly is an excellent salesperson. And when I approached her about doing the podcast, her face turned white and she took a big gulp and she's like, "Oh, I don't think so." I'm like, "Oh, I think so." So it's going to be interesting to have her on there. So anyway, I've got some free topics that we're going to talk about today, roll through some things. Let's spin the wheel to talk about, I don't know what it's going to be. Let's see what it is. One more time. The topic is air infiltration barriers. Let's talk about air infiltration barriers. Who cares about an air infiltration barrier? Nobody cares about an air infiltration barrier until it doesn't work. So there's several, an air infiltration barrier is something that's on the outside of the house that we apply to the outside of the house. And all across the country, these things are different. I was just on the phone last week with my friend Stoney Pettit from Beaumont, Texas. And there's another guy in Hilton Head that's in our Builder 20 group, Brian Esposito. And these guys work in a high moisture climate, a high heat climate, and they have to be conscious of different methods and techniques that they're using with their air infiltration barriers and how they seal the outside of the house up and then how they duct the rest of the house to get it to breathe. As opposed to Ohio, when we're up here, we still have a lot of humidity and moisture up here, but our temperatures change sometimes 30, 40 degrees in one day. It's crazy what happens. But what we do here at Wieland Builders is we use a product called Enviro Dry. It's a liquid air barrier that goes on the outside of the house. We use this stuff because there's a paper product and there's a liquid product, and some of these, the paper products are applied after the fact. The liquid products are applied after the fact, but sprayed on. And then there's another one called zip board, which is on the material, on the plywood when it already comes out. We use Enviro Dry because, for one, our numbers, our energy numbers, our HERS scores, and all of our ratings are so much better when we use this product. But the other reason we use it is because it covers almost 100% of the wall and allows that wall to, what an air barrier does, back up a little bit, it allows air to travel back and forth. It allows moisture out, but doesn't allow moisture in. Pretty cool science technology. Where I learned the majority of this stuff was from Tyvek back in the day when they were really big and still are really big. But they had a building sciences team that they worked with. We learned a lot of this stuff at the Builders show, and then we also learned about it through a class that Tyvek would put on, talking about air infiltration, talking about flashing, talking about moisture intrusion, talking about all these things. Where this really originated from was back in when we first started building. We never did any of this stuff. Maybe we used a blue board, which is a blue Celotex board that was made by Georgia Pacific, or it's a polystyrene material, and it had a plastic on it on the outside of it, maybe. The other thing that we would do is we would put insulation on the inside of the wall that didn't have a paper back to it, but then we would put a 4 milliliter plastic on the inside of the wall and seal that whole wall up. Don't let it travel anywhere. Just trap it in the wall. That was a horrible idea. But on the outside of the wall, we didn't use anything. And in the building code, it called for a 1-inch air gap in between the brick and the frame wall. And it wasn't nominal. It was 1 inch. So what happens is when a builder gets into an argument with a customer and the customer wants to be just absolutely pleasing, they get into a lawsuit and they find out, and they get a forensic architect, and the architect comes in, is looking for anything and everything that they can burn the builder on, which doesn't take long to figure out. And then the 1 inch gap could be 13/16. And so he's in violation of the code and gets in trouble. So we changed the building code to say it's a nominal 1 inch. And then the manufacturers of the house wrap were able to lobby hard enough to say, hey, if you have a house wrap on the outside of the house, you don't need the air gap. The air gap is important with brick. I guess I should clarify that too, because the air gap is important with brick because if you go along a wall that maybe faces the south side, it's got brick on it, or wherever the sun is going to bake on it the majority of the day, that air gap in between the frame wall and the brick can get up above 125 something degrees or more. You can feel it standing right next to it. It's crazy how it happens. That has to breathe. It has to be able to allow air out of it to cool the temperature. The other thing that happens with brick is that the brick absorbs water, and the water actually runs down the back of the brick. And then we put weep holes along the bottom of the bottom course of the brick about every 3 bricks. We want that water to escape. We want the air to escape. We need a lot of these things to happen. So when we have an air barrier on the outside of the house, it protects the frame wall. It protects the air transfers, but it also allows us to not have to maintain that perfect 1 inch gap in between there, which was a crazy rule to begin with. But so that's the majority of the purpose of the air barrier is to allow the air to travel back and forth and allow the moisture out, but not let the moisture in. There's so many things that come along with this wall cavity. You start with the outside covering, which is brick or siding or hardy siding, whatever the material may be. You go from there. Maybe you have a gap in it. Maybe you don't. You have your frame wall, which will have the air barrier on it. You have your insulation between the wall. You have your drywall on the inside of the house. And then what most people don't realize is your paint also acts as a barrier for that wall. All of these things put together are what the science or what leads to the science of how the air barrier works, how your insulation works, how the performance of the wall works, how everything happens. Now, another thing that people do a lot of times is they will do 2 foot on center studs. Maybe they'll say you're getting 2x6 walls, but they're doing 2 foot on center. Well, yeah, it's great because you get more insulation. I don't like it because you get less structural members in that wall. And when you have less structural members in a wall, then you worry about shear and how the house is moving and twisting. And I don't like that. The other thing that we have to pay attention to here is wood has a less R value than insulation actually does. So the more wood members you have in there, the less insulation your wall is going to have into it, and the less, I guess, lower performance it's going to have. So when we go back to thinking about the outside of the house and the air barrier that's on the outside, one of the things that Zip Wall has done is they have an insulation board that goes onto the plywood where the green zip air barrier is on the outside of it. Awesome stuff, because now what it's creating is a continuous insulation all the way around the outside of the house, because that insulation board is going over top of every single one of those studs. It's adding to each stud cavity with insulation in it, and it's really cool stuff. You just have to make sure that when you're using this stuff, you account for that with your windows, you account for that with your foundation, you account for all this additional width that you're going to have on your wall. The thing that I don't like about Zip Wall is that you have to tape all the seams, and then you have to come back and liquid seal all the nails that you put on the wall, which is a lot of work. And now it's creating more of a solid barrier on that wall, as opposed to what we're doing with that liquid air barrier and paper barriers, where the majority of the wall is breathing and not just a portion of it. Tyvek, I like Tyvek. It's a paper product. There's other paper products out there. I think Georgia Pacific makes one. There's a handful. Typar makes one. There's some that are more popular in different areas of the country than what these are. But the thing I don't like about a paper product is it tears off, it fades. People don't respect it when they're doing their outside penetrations, and it changes how the whole wall performs. With the liquid applied air barrier, like I said before, it's applied to the majority of the wall. You're using the majority of the wall to breathe in and out. So that's my spiel. When you're talking about doing HERS ratings and you're doing a blower door test and doing all these things, it's not just about those ratings. It's also about indoor air quality that's in your house. When you think about your heating and air conditioning system, you're probably thinking about, is it hot? Is it warm? Is it cool? How's that working for you? But really what you need to pay attention to is, how do you feel when you're inside that house? How does the air breathe? How do you breathe? And that all comes together with all these things I've discussed. Now, that's brief. This is very brief, and what I'm talking about here, but I hope it opens you up to understanding the science that goes on with the wall cavity, the exterior materials, and this air barrier. Enviro Dry is a product that's made by Trimco Barrier Solutions. They do our below grade and our above grade and all the flashings that come along with it. It's really, really important as a builder that your main focus as you're building and coming up is keeping moisture out, keeping the water out, keeping anything that could penetrate and damage the house. So you're dealing with air barriers, you're dealing with weather barriers, you're dealing with flashings. And we do so many more things to these houses today than what I did when I first started building. Flashing at the foundation, flashing around the windows, putting weep holes in the bricks underneath the windows, above the windows, all sorts of things that are happening to protect this house and make it better for water intrusion. So I feel like if there ever is an issue with water intrusion, I'm like, how did we screw this up? Because when I first started building, we didn't do any of this stuff and we didn't have some of these problems. And now we're doing all these things and we have problems. That's crazy. So we're doing, I think this is something that people need to realize, that we're doing so many more things like this that are better for your home than they were 30 years ago. So that's my spiel and I'm sticking to it. Let's roll in to talk about some different things that we have going on here at Wieland Builders. I want to talk about our goals and objectives. We did this last year. I didn't do it this year. I touched on it, but didn't really do much with it. So our goals and objectives for Wieland Builders, I'm going to spill the beans. First, we have this pyramid that we got from our business coach. Fred Rakowski was on the show last year and is just an incredible person. But the pyramid is an example of, when you have a wide base, you have a great foundation, it starts and really builds the company up to a point where things are really working and happening good. So one of the things I want everybody to remember all the time in this company is that we are the manufacturer. It's not just the end product that we're worried about. It's how we got there. It's the customer experience. It's making sure that every step along the way was treated as it's a finished product. Everything that we do along the way, I don't want to look at it at the end and just put some paint on it and go, boy, that looks good. When behind the paint, it doesn't look good. It's really, really important to understand every single position that goes on in this house. Our goal, number one, is to do $12 million in sales. And when we say $12 million in sales, I hear, for all my life, I've heard people say, I'm going to build 100 houses this year. I'm going to build 50 houses. And still today, even our CBUSA buying group, people say, how many houses are you going to, how many starts are you going to get? When it's kind of ignorant to think about that like that, because what if one of my lumber packages is $150,000 to $200,000, and these guys that are building 100 houses a year, their lumber packages are $15,000 to $20,000. You have to balance it out with the dollar volume, not necessarily just the workload. So we look at it, say, okay, $12 million. What do we have to do within that $12 million? How do we make things happen for us to achieve that? The vision for me and this company is we want to build as few houses as possible in our lifetime. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. So we want to build as few houses in that $12 million realm as we can. And what this allows us to do is allows us to focus more on our customers, allows us to focus more on the quality of the houses. And we don't have to, run into the hustle and bustle of building neighborhoods, letting developers make decisions for our companies, which is one of the dumbest things you can do. We don't have to worry about a lot of those things. We have to provide an awesome product for our awesome customers. And that's what we want to do. The other thing it does is I want our supervisors only building 2 to 3 houses per person at a time, if that. Some of these houses are spread apart. But I noticed that when we get above a certain amount of houses, then things start falling apart. I can go out and build one house and I can look like a rock star. I can do it without a paper schedule. I can do it all in my head, and I can just walk around with my chest out going, what's wrong with you? I'm doing it over here. But you give me 2 houses, and now I'm starting to be like, oh man, I got to write stuff down. I got to get up earlier in the morning. I got to pay attention. I got to drive. I got to start balancing some things out. You give me 3, and now I've got a full-time job, man. I'm hustling and working it all the time. I can't imagine if I had 6 or 7 of these big houses. When you're in a neighborhood and you're building production houses and you got 10 or 15 houses going on, you're working a schedule, you're calling people and telling them it's their turn to come in. But when you're building these big custom houses, there's so many different details. There's so many meetings. There's so many quality checkpoints that we require here at Wieland Builders. There's so many things that are happening. That's why we want to do that. So moving on to number 2 is to bump our average price point up. Right now, our average price point is just under $2 million, and it's about where we want to be. Because we're not forcing people to spend this money. It's the clientele that we are attracting, and that's what we want to do. By having that point there, then that allows us to build fewer houses in that $12 million realm. We've got a number of different things that we want to do. I just don't want to spill all the beans, but within all of these things, we need to start thinking about the future and training supervisors. We need to start thinking about the future and start training people to get into other positions. We need to make sure that we have processes documented. We need to make sure that we have all these things in place that are preparing us for the future, that are preparing us to give the customers a better experience and for us to build better houses. The number 3 was we always want to be improving our customer service. And how do we do that? Number 1, we have to listen. Number 2, we have to have great communication. We have to be responsive. We have to anticipate their needs, and we have to set realistic expectations and make sure that we're using our core values all the time in everything that we're doing. And again, I've got a number of different things here that we've got to put in place, but ultimately it comes down to communication with our customers and making sure we're setting expectations the right way. Number 4 is be better. And be better. We do not want to be okay. We want to be great. When I'm meeting with our customers and we say, how do you feel about that? And they say, well, I like it. And I say, well, that's not good enough. You've got to love it. If you're spending this kind of money and you're spending this kind of time and you have this much passion into it, love it. Don't like it. That's really, really important. But being better, Chip Ganassi, always has said that he wants 1% more out of his employees. He wants 1% more out of his teams, and also will Lavellette from Four Corners just said this the other day, and I said, man, I can't believe Will said this because I thought it was Chip Ganassi, but he said 1% more. Try to be better at everything that you're doing. It's going to make things great. Be better people, be a better company. And what do we got to do to get this? Well, we need training. We need educational opportunities. We need therapists. We need preachers. We need teamwork. We need listening. We need a lot of these things to be better. We need a support system to be able to do this. Number 5 was to grow the WB download, to continue the podcast, continue to make this thing greater. We need marketing. We need effort with guests and topics. We need money. We need to think about, one of the guys said, why don't you get a producer? Right now, Leanne puts all this stuff together and does all these behind the scene things. We both come up with questions. We're both scheduling people in here. We're trying to keep it interesting so people listen to it. And I think we've really done an excellent job with that. But again, let's be better. Let's do more. Number 6 is improve our warranty and service techniques, efforts, and completion. And so this is, after the house is completed, we give a 1-year warranty on the house. That's labor and materials. There's so many more warranties that are on this house that go a lot longer than that, that are supplied by the manufacturers. And we want to make sure that we're taking care of that. Our customers need to know that we have their best interest in mind even after they move in. And so that's something that's really, really important to us, to make sure that our customers do that. We need to improve our selections process. And what we mean by that is that these houses are so detailed. Some things are getting drugged down. Some things are getting not overlooked, but not paid attention to enough at the scale that they need to be paid attention to. So this is something that's really important to us. And the other thing was we have the tendency here at Wieland Builders anyway to not find computer systems that work, computer programs that work well enough for us. So what do? We go into Google and we make our own. But we want something that's better. So we're experiencing and trying out different programs all the time to try and make that process a lot better. So those are our goals, some objectives. We want to build the best home and be the best builder. So what's that mean? If I'm sitting here telling you I'm the best, well, then I'm done. Right? There's nowhere else to go. Plus, I'm an egomaniac and I probably should get my ass kicked. But building the best home and being the best builder means that we are working specifically with a customer, and that house is the best for them, which makes us the best builder, makes it the best home. It's not like, you're going to line them up and people are going to go, oh, I want that one. It's not like that. All the houses we build are quality. They're all custom made specifically for the people. And that's what makes it the best home, because it's for them. It was their selections. It was their thought process. It was their passion that went into it. So we have a number of different things that make that. One of the biggest parts of it is our trade partners, our team, here. And one of the things I'm preaching to these people, I keep saying one of those things because it's a multiple things, but one of the biggest things that we talk about all the time is we do not want this organization to be like it's the inmates reporting to the warden. We want this to be a great big table, and we're all talking all the time. Hey, we didn't do this too well. What do we got to do to improve that? We did this great. What do we got to do to celebrate it? What can we do better? What can we do more? How is this going to help our customers? How is this going to help the house? There's so many things that go into it. Do your job 1% better each day. What can you do to improve your skills, your knowledge, your job, your techniques each day? Experience for the customers, communication, proactiveness, responsiveness. Be intentional. We've said this for several years. Be intentional. Don't kind of do it. Don't think about it. Don't talk about it and be full of crap and not do it. You have to be intentional. It's so important because people rely on you. And number one core value for Wieland Builders, dependability. My dad always used to say, or still probably does say, you got to do what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, how you say you're going to do it. Intentional for all of these things. Fred Rakowski says, hey, when you go into the hotel that we were in one time, I can't remember what the name of it was, but he said, there's fresh air in there. You don't know it. You don't realize it, that they're pumping this air into this hotel to make sure that you feel more comfortable. Somebody didn't kind of do that. Somebody didn't say, oh, go flip the switch. It was there. It's in their list. It's the things that they did intentionally to make you feel more comfortable there. An exclusive database of customers, and this is so important because the majority of our work comes from referrals. And how do we make sure that we continue to maintain and take care of these people? This is something that's really, really important. Here's the other thing, and we're going to do a podcast on this. We have a red flag list. Who's our ideal customer, and who do we not want to work with? What do these people do that piss us off? What do these people do that scare us to death in the beginning? What are some of the things they say? What are some of the things that happen that scare us? And then we do the same thing with our trade partners. What's the scuttlebug about them on the street? What do they do great? What do they do bad? But we need to avoid people. I learned this in a recession. When we were busted, man. And I was talking to my attorney one time, and he said, "Hey, you need to be very careful about who you build with, because you can't afford a lawsuit. You can't afford somebody coming after you. You can't afford somebody picking you apart and tearing you down, and then you not making any money on these houses." So I started thinking about that, and I'm like, man, we really want to make sure that our customers are somebody we have a relationship with, that we're all on the same page, and how do we make sure that happens? So we have some starts, some stops, and some continues. And some of the things that we want to start doing is we in our Builder 20 group, we have a couple guys that say, hey, we can do 3 things great: budget, scheduling, and quality. If the customer had to pick 2 of those things, which one would it be? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, we want budget and quality. If it takes you longer to build the house, then that's fine. So we kind of leaned on that philosophy a little bit, and then our schedules went to hell, and now we're like, hey, you know what? We need to pay attention to these schedules a little bit more. And when I say go to hell, it's not like terrible, but we need to pay attention more to it. Make sure that our cash flow is going good. Make sure that the customer feels good about what's happening on the job site all the time. Make sure that the supervisors aren't coming in here and lying through their teeth every single day about what's going on the job. We need to make sure that we're focusing on the schedules all the time. We are looking for more information all the time. We are putting more information into our Google Sheets. We are consolidating computer programs. We have teamwork, making sure that this team. So we turned our production meeting on Wednesdays. We said, hey, this isn't a production meeting. I don't want to listen to this crap. What I want to do is go around the table and everybody talks about what they have going on and what they need from each other. That's really, really important. Implement things we talk about. Let's quit talking about it. Let's start doing it. Let's start doing it, man. Quit talking about it. Blah, 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 blah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And for the 4th year in a row, we've had the suggestion of having a happy hour at our office. Let's start doing that. I don't want to do that. Everybody else wants to do it. That's great. We have enough things that we do during the year. Let's stop doing. What are some things we're going to stop doing? 1, we're going to stop making assumptions. You can never assume that somebody's going to do something. You can never assume that somebody knows something. There was nothing worse than when I was playing sports in school that the coaches, egomaniacs that they were and are still to this day, just assume that you know things. And if you don't know them, you're stupid. That's crazy. Teachers would start out teaching a program, and if you didn't know it, well, you're stupid. They assume that you already knew it. Why can't you just teach the basics and figure it out? Let's not make assumptions on what's happening. Let's not make assumptions out there. Communicate with everyone. Ask how they prefer to communicate. Stop just assuming that they're going to communicate by a text message. I want our employees to talk to people. I know everybody wants to document things with text messages and emails. Pick up the phone and talk to people, man. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Let's talk. Let's have conversations. Don't be scared, man. We talk about it all the time. Let's have a conversation. Communicate inefficiencies in time management. Get here prior to start and leave when the job is over. I've got some quotes at the end of this deal that I'm going to talk about. But if you're going 9 to 5, that's the minimum. That's the minimum of what you got to do. And I've never been able to do it in this business. When I tried to do it in this business when I was younger and hungover and trying to think I'd get to it at some point, I didn't do a very good job. And I know that you're not considered a basic worker here at Wieland Builders. You have a specific skill, you have a profession, and you need to excel at it. You need to be hungry. You need to drive. You need to go forward. Something I'm horrible at is negative talk. I change it sometimes to say I'm objective, but I do not want to be the person at the helm and setting a precedence to talk crap about anybody or anything. So let's not do that. Let's stop doing that. If I'm doing it, then we're going to stop doing it. Had a guy, and another thing that we said, we're going to have positive energy when someone's asking you how you're doing. And so the stop doing is if I ask you, how are you doing? And you say peachy, or, and I've said this on this show before, another day in paradise, like your life is so bad, get over it. And plus you're here. You need to be positive. A guy that from Phantom Sound, Tommy Brand, who is no stranger to this show and to Wieland Builders, told me that he got rid of a guy because he wasn't smiling on the phone when he was talking to people. And I'm like, are you serious? Then you start putting it into perspective. If you're smiling on the phone while you're talking to somebody, it changes your personality while you're on the phone with them, even though they can't see you. These are the things we need to do. Let's be positive energy. Let's continue doing. We have milestones that we are working on with our customers throughout the process, and we want to continue doing one of those. I don't want to spill all the beans, but we want to make sure that we're doing some things. Let's continue to do some really cool things that we're doing with the customers. Years ago, we were building a house for some folks out in, I guess it's like Mainville, Goshen area. And I remember something had happened, and the guy looked at his wife and said, "Are you still having fun?" And because we don't want to do it if we're not having fun. And I'm not sure she was having a great time, but she said, I can find a fun in this. And so I thought, man, how can we make sure that these folks are having fun during this process? Because it's a lengthy process and it's a lot of stress and a lot of things that are happening. So we did all of these different milestones to check in with them to make sure that we're doing things along the way that they understand they're as much a part of this team as the people who are building it. If you come into this process with Wieland Builders and you don't understand it, you're not going to have a good time. Not going to have a good time. So let's look at some things. Observe, create, document, achieve. Let's make it happen. These are really, really important things. Teamwork, customer service. We want to continue doing our trade breakfast. We want to continue building badass homes. We want to continue the parade float, Homerama when we can. We want to continue to live by our vision, our mission, and our core values. We start each meeting. We talk about it all the time. Do you guys want to change this? Are you guys okay with it? Dependability, honesty, quality, and family. Are you guys okay with this? And we want to make sure that we keep it there. We put job descriptions in front of everybody else so everybody knows what each other's job description is. This was super important to understand what everybody else does. Hey, when we hire somebody, we all read The Ultimate Team Player. It was a book that was given to us by Fred Rakowski, the entire team. And I'm getting ready to send this book to Pastor Will Lovellette at Four Corners Church because we have 3 basic principles when we're looking to hire somebody: hungry, humble, and smart. And hungry is the single thing that you cannot train somebody to be. You cannot train somebody to be eager and to want more and to be fired up and get here early and work late and just you make great use of their time, always wanting to learn more. How do I improve? How do I improve? What do I got to do? That's a desire to push harder, learn harder, earn more. You got to be humble. You've got to be able to talk at all levels of people. You got to be able to talk to the concrete finisher. You got to turn around and be able to talk to the CEO of a big company. You got to be able to talk to me. You got to be able to talk to your kids, your teachers, all these different people. You have to understand that you're putting others first and not yourself. That's really, really important when we look at some skills that people have. And you got to be people smart. People smart means that you have to utilize their personalities, understand their personalities. You're going to have one person that may just be like a yes all the time. You have to be careful not to take advantage of that. You have another person that's just a pain in the ass all the time, but they do good work. How do we use this? How do we understand them better? How do we get through it? I got this from Pastor Will also, but we have 4 things that we want you to focus on throughout the year: wisdom, stature, spiritual, and relational. When you're talking about wisdom, what are you going to do to improve your intellectual growth? You're going to learn about yourself, learn about your job, learn about your kids, learn about something, but improve your wisdom and in your stature. Are you going to change the way you look? Are you going to go on a diet? Are you going to have physical growth? Do you have next steps that you want to look at as far as your life, as far as your Christian life, as far as whatever you're going to do in the world? Your spiritual life. Are you going to serve somewhere? And even if it's not at a church, are you going to serve somebody? Are you going to develop more as a Christian? Have you put anything off? Have you said, I'm going to do it later. I'm going to do it later. Spiritually, let's get this together. Relational, serving with others. Join a new group. Go do something cool. Build a relationship with somebody. So I have some quotes here that I wanted to tell you about, and I think these are pretty cool. As a manufacturer, as an originator, Henry Ford said, if we would have asked people what they wanted, they would have told us they wanted faster horses. And Henry Ford built a car that was not a horse. And I feel like that with building houses. If we just said, hey, what do you want? And we went out and built it. Well, that's not custom building. That's just working for somebody. We need to make sure that we're applying our skills and our knowledge to what these people want to do with us. Another thing that we talk about is if you want to shop without worrying about the price, you have to work without worrying about the clock. You have to work. And I know there's boundaries, and I'm not saying you have to work 24 hours a day in order to be wealthy, but you have to make sure that you are looking ahead and working hard with your head down, which leads us into the next one. There was a gentleman here in Southwest Ohio. His name was Mark Stark. He owned a company called Nelson Stark, and they were a big plumbing outfit. Got several friends of mine that work over there, and now one of them is actually the owner one of the owners of the joint. And but Mark was a crazy dude. Never really knew him too well myself, but I knew he was on fire all the time. Their logo was a buffalo, and he said, "Hey, we run this deal like the buffalo on the side of that truck. You got to have your head down and running, damn it." And sometimes that's what you got to do, especially in the construction business. If you get held up by government authorities and everybody picking you apart and saying, you can't do that, you can't do that, sometimes you got to put your head down and move forward and just run through it and keep working hard. This business was founded on hard work and diligence and craftsmanship. And that's where you got to go. Put your head down and run, damn. Man, you got to get going. I'm fired up. All right. Hey, everybody, that's the show for today. I can't remember if I got other things to talk about, but one thing I do want to mention is that, and I hate to say it, but one of our great employees, Robin Hauser, has decided to move on. She's been here 11 years. And I care deeply about her, and I think she's an excellent person. I hate to see her go, and she's made some decisions that feels like it's better for herself, and I can't hold her back from that. And I always want to make sure that we're supporting people, whether it hurts us or not. It really hurts to see her go, but I want to say thank you to her, say that she's a wonderful human being, and I want to make sure that we can get an opportunity to see her thrive as she moves through life. Such a great person, and thanks for all the years of being here. It's important to have a support team and cheerleaders here, and great people. So this is a new challenge for us and for me to get somebody here to join this team, but nonetheless, it is something that's necessary. So anyway, thanks again for listening today. I hope that you guys all got something out of it and got some entertainment out of it. Tune in the next time here for the guest with Kelly Schnelly. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation I had with my really, really good friend, best friend, Matt Smith from SiteWorks there a couple weeks ago. I'm still thinking about it, and we're still talking about it. So anyway, thanks again for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to the WB Download on your favorite podcast service. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube over there too and listen to it there. Don't forget that we drop on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. And if you want to be part of the conversation, email me at wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com and check us out at wielandbuilders.com to see all the cool houses we're building and the things that we've got going on. Man, I'm just so grateful for everybody tuning in, listening, making this deal great. Let's see the sunshine coming here in the future as we roll into late spring and early summer. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm Jeff Wieland here on the WB Download.